Love this for us.
I love this for us too, because we've talked so much about not only the intro to our conversations that we have on our social media, but, you know, my podcast and talking about relationship advice, like how we navigate through our relationship, how we met, and all of the things.
And again, I mean, you guys are such a beautiful family. And just from afar, you can just feel like the love, you know, with all the babies. It's like it just gives you all the warm and fuzzies. But it also makes me want to know
the babies just
the babies. So clearly something's right if the babies
Something's
just keep coming.
Must be something in the water.
But it does beg the question, like, what's it like when you like argue or disagree? Like, I want to know the love story. I want to know like how you guys met, and I also want to know on the last episode, Dre talked about when your guys' first date and how she just laid it all on the table. And I want to know, like, what made you receptive to that and not run? I think a lot of men run when they hear that. Maybe that just means that they're not available. But I just love it from a man's perspective.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
yeah.
Well, first, thank you for having me. This is exciting. I know you ladies are a few episodes in here, and so thanks for including me here. Yeah, what I can say on that is I didn't run because I was looking for the same thing. So we both, our very first date was very real, very raw.
Where was it?
It was at the House of Tricks in Tempe, which is no longer there.
Have you heard of House of Tricks?
No.
Sadly, it was a I don't know. I didn't know the area. I was visiting, and I was trying to find like what seems like a good spot so that
You were visiting from out of town?
I was, yeah. So at the time, I was not living here. I was living in Santa Cruz, California, and I was
Love me some Santa Cruz.
I was coming here often on business, and we met. I'm sure Drea shared at some point. We met online, and so
you're like, I'm here for the week. I'm going to
Well,
go online,
yeah, so
maybe
that was-
hit up a little date night.
that was it. So I was like the out of town businessman, and that like
Which always works out well.
yeah, it did.
It initially
Did not
was
fly.
a red flag.
Yeah, 100%.
Like initially when
Like,
we
do you
met,
have a wife at home?
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
So initially when we met online and we were talking, he said he was in town on business. And I was like, red flag, keep scrolling. We're not doing that. And I didn't respond to that at all. But I think like 2 weeks later, he reached out again and he followed up with clarity on what he said wrong. And really that was huge for me to see that even without me saying anything, he knew kind of where he needed to provide reassurance at. And he did that. And that was like green flag immediately. Cause he was like, I understand if my in town on business did not jive.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
you know what we call that? I mean, it's not a sale, but it's like a reverse sale. In the sales world, it's like, tell me everything that's wrong, and then I trust you. You know, like truly.
Yeah. I mean, we could have a whole discussion around the how to approach online dating and all that. But yeah, I think
Which we
I
should.
gave a pretty much a bare minimum response. One, because I was looking at her profile and being like, am I being catfished? Like, this can't be the woman I'm talking to right
I
now.
feel
This
that.
can't
True.
possibly be.
Right? That's,
but,
I could feel that. Like, that's,
the first date was after a number of phone conversations, and like we had really gotten to know one another a bit before I was back in town here and we could schedule a first date.
wow.
But showing up to that first date, we both laid it all on the table.
And what does that mean? What is on the table? What did you guys say?
So I would say, at least I was coming into this questioning if the story I was about to share with her and revealing my true self that was beyond what was in my dating profile, would that be considered red flag? Would that be considered baggage? And what I was bringing was that I was recently divorced, and back out in the dating world, doing this online dating thing after being in a decade-long relationship, and really just trying to navigate the new landscape of what modern dating looked like.
Right.
So certainly that didn't make my profile that I was a divorcee. But I wanted to make sure that was shared in person in that first date. And so what was great is that we really did very quickly move beyond the small talk and dove right in. And so but she made me very comfortable feeling that or sharing that. It didn't feel like I was unloading a burden at that point. It was really just like, this is my truth. This is me. This is where I'm at in my life. I think beyond that, you've told me since then that, you sharing that, you say, okay, well, you made it through 10 years of a relationship. It didn't work out, but
that's an ability to commit.
What are all the things that you learned from that? How did you grow from that as well? And so I'm glad that you recognize, like, oh, this guy is just a product of divorce. And beyond that, it was like, oh, this guy has been in real relationships, has really gotten to know himself through that more.
So how long were you single out of the divorce by this point?
Our first date was in 2019, a little over a year.
Okay.
My divorce was like officially finalized, but it'd been about 2 years since we had been separated.
I feel like 2 years is the magic number.
Yeah.
No,
seriously. I would have to agree. And honestly, in that first date, I didn't find that experience that he had to be baggage. I found it to be a bonus.
There's that word again. Remember we talked in the last episode about baggage when you're like unloading, or even the word unloading. It's like just sharing and just and really just talking about who we are and what our life is, and that like even the good, the bad, the ugly, like that all makes up who we are, and it doesn't have to be baggage. It can just be, part of our story.
Yeah, because the person you invest in, you are taking all of them with you. So whatever they've experienced in their past life, that is going to be a part of you as well if you're joining hands with someone. So I thought it was so beautiful to come into that first date and be so authentically who we are and show up in our most authentic selves and share our truth. And I was so nervous. Okay, let's be clear. I almost left. Like
before he got there?
Well, he was there. I pulled up and I started to have a bit of a panic attack, Mel.
Oh my God.
Like,
you're so new. Like, this is for real, for real, for real. Are you ready?
Well, and further context, it was your very first date.
Yeah.
Post your relationship.
Post, yeah. It was. So for me, I was like,
wow.
One and done, by the way.
Wow, well done. Played.
I will always wonder because, again, your online profile was just like, who is this unicorn of a woman?
I mean, her whole essence.
Yes, and it poured through in her Bumble profile. But I'm really glad that after that minimal first follow-up, and I sat on it for a bit, and I said, if this woman is who she portrays to be,
she's it.
And like, she seems incredible. So I sat on it for a little bit, and then I did reach back out, as Dre had mentioned, with a much more, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, this is what I'm looking for. Yes, I may not live where you live, but I really am seeking something real.
He provided so much reassurance in that follow-up message, and I'm actually
I have chills all over just listening to it.
I'm so glad he responded knowing that, and everything that I recognized in that text was him knowing better, him being someone who could be a safe place, someone who's accountable, like a man who's just like filled with emotional intelligence.
A unicorn also.
Yes, exactly. And let's be clear, his profile was so real, like his pictures, his selfies were like not great, but
you're right. You're right. The better the selfies, like the more skeptical of it I am. 100%.
So I knew he was real, and I'm like,
no
who?
Pictures of me flexing in a gym.
Oh,
like,
not about any puppies.
No
puppies.
No puppies.
Oh, no puppies. No gym.
No kissing in the mouth. Fish. No kissing in the mouth with dogs.
What were your selfies?
It was just left? Like, it was him and his like. He had like a clinical trials selfie that he had all of his suit on. I was like, okay, so who's this nerdy white guy?
Because you're a scientist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's preface that.
Yeah. But then in that, he liked music, and he had like, I could feel the soul through the profile, and I'm like, okay, who is this white boy with soul? Like, I'm so curious. And then when he came back with that follow-up message, he's like, I understand if my in town on business doesn't jive with your with your understanding of what you want, but I can reassure you that I'm looking for something real. And I noticed that you being rooted in faith and having a college degree, like he's pointing out all of these things, and I'm like, okay. And then I think
Are you a Pisces?
I know I'm an Aries. Meaning,
Wow.
Meaning I
Yes.
actually read the words in your profile and didn't just fetishize your picture.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
what I was
Yes.
Can we call that a PSA to all of our listeners out there?
Yes. So I was very
Say what you
clear.
mean, what you say,
Yes.
read and process.
Yeah.
Stand on business.
If anyone would like a clinic on how to respond and chat on online dating,
I don't think that you realize that that's why you're here.
I pulled-
You're supporting me in my journey.
I pulled the baddie, so fellas, let me help you out.
Yeah, honestly. Have you guys ever seen a Benny, gosh, I forgot his last name, but Selena Gomez's
Yes.
man?
I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of his reels, like you should do those too. It's like just all, like guys, when your girlfriend or your wife is complaining or talking about something, like they've probably already told you this 1,000 times. If you just listen and just hear them,
Yeah.
you won't be so confused about why they're mad at you.
Yeah, he's
Or
such a
like
good
why they're
listener.
frustrated.
Yes, and he's such a good listener. Like
thank
You and Benny
hears
got to teach
me.
a course.
He's a funny dude. He's a
And
funny
also
dude.
none of this like toxic masculine, like you just got to be the boss. Because there's also way too many men out there that are asking for dominance without providing leadership. And I think we've got to like rearrange how we prioritize this, and really like that divine masculine that really cares and nurtures and supports and creates space for their partners is really, I think some men are really missing the mark on that. And I'm glad that more men that are doing it right are starting to get a voice.
That's great. I've never heard the term the divine masculine. I've definitely heard the divine feminine, but I guess the divine masculine recognizes and respects and understands the magic of the divine feminine. Yeah.
I mean, I think we're done here, folks. Take that clip and go.
Yeah.
You get that?
Say it again.
That's what a male feminist looks like, all right? I mean, listen to women, believe women.
Believe women.
That's it.
He's so great. I would marry him again. So
How long have you guys been married now?
It's 3
No.
years in July. I don't know. It feels like a lifetime, baby. How long has it been?
2 years in July.
2 years in
2
July.
years in July.
I just feel like I've known him my whole life. Like it's so, and you could say we moved fast.
Most definitely.
For sure. But I knew him, and there was no small talk in any capacity to us getting to know each other. None. It was deep and it was depth. And for me, I needed to feel safe. I needed to know that I remember in the beginning, and I would constantly say to him, I'm falling in love. Are you going to catch me? I'm falling in love. Are you going to catch me? I'm falling in love.
Yeah, he did say that.
Are you going to, every time I would feel it, and I'd be so afraid.
You said that to him?
Yes, I would say it all the time, like annoyingly, I think.
I think the next time after our first date, and we were locked in after our first date, and I was here for a few days, and we hung out every day for a few days, and then I don't know if it was the very next time that I returned to the Valley or if it was 2 times later, but 3 times after meeting in person, we were off on a weekend trip to Sedona, and I most definitely slipped out and I love you at some point. And she said it right back, and I was like, oh, okay.
Here we are.
Okay.
And the unicorns unite.
And it was off to the races.
We're going to title this episode When Unicorns Unite.
We just knew, like, it felt so real, but it felt so surreal. Like, it felt unreal.
And how wild that this was your first date after the past relationship, which we talked a lot about in the last episode, where, it was literally could be quite possibly the polar opposite of this situation.
Complete opposite.
How long did it take for you to really process that this was real and that you weren't being punked? And that like he was going to catch you, and that you were in love, and that this was it, and you can relax now.
I think immediately going into the relationship and realizing that me asking that question was because of past trauma, and accepting and realizing the fact that he has nothing to do with that past trauma.
Wow, you hear that, ladies?
Yes. And so really
We can't project our past trauma and pain and relationships on our current relationships.
It had to be at ground zero.
Yeah, wow.
So I had to be, I'm getting chills because
I am too.
I had to know and be certain that this person is someone totally different. And whatever I bring in is what I'm going to get out of it. So I wanted to be so sure that I wasn't projecting any past trauma onto what I was growing with this new person who was showing up for me in ways that I've never experienced in my entire life. I mean, he was immediately healing my inner child. And it was just like, wow.
It's so funny. I feel that way when I look at my daughter's relationship with her boyfriend. And they're young, but they're so conscious even of their young love, right? Like they're 23, but they're so emotionally present, and they communicate, even the way that they communicated at the end of college, like, are we going to be together? Are we not going to be together? Do you want to be in California? Do you want to stay in Tucson? Do you want this? Like, what do you want to do for work? How can I support you here? You're not obligated to me. There's no expectations. Like, we can just call it a quits. This was a great college experience, but maybe we want to try. They really talked through the whole thing.
That's beautiful.
And we're so supportive of one another that, like, no, I'm not ready for this to be over. And not because I'm wanting to be stuck. Like, I'm ready to start this new chapter, but with you.
Yeah.
And that was really beautiful because as a parent, I was concerned, right? Like they're coming out of college. Like, is she not going to fly because now she's feeling tethered? And, or was he, holding back when he really wanted to move back to California where his family is, but now he's sacrificing to be with my daughter. Is he going to resent her for that? All of these things, when I talked to them about these things, they had already discussed it.
Beautiful.
That's amazing.
That is so amazing.
And, in so many ways, even
very emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
very, and in so many ways, I told Cole, her boyfriend, I said, listen, and I've said this before, but it's so beautiful as a mother when you see your daughter be loved, and seen and heard and valued in a way that is just so profound. But it really allowed me and created like a different energy that allowed me to fall in love with him, as my bonus son.
Yeah.
That like, wow. And the way that he loves my other children, and, they have sleepovers at his house and they torment him and they call him all the time.
Yeah.
And, there's just that deep, beautiful love. And I feel like if we can talk more about what does it take to become that emotionally intelligent? Like, have you always been that emotionally intelligent, or?
No, I think it's something I've learned. I think I've probably, you need to learn to get outside of yourself. Like, I think I naturally was more of a selfish, single operator kind of person. But what changes that more than anything is when kids show up. And you realize
and kids showed up right away with you guys, right?
Well, so I really wanted to talk about Jonah and my relationship with Jonah. So back to that very first date, where I'm sharing that I'm a product of divorce, and not knowing exactly how Drayvon is going to receive that. I did not know up to that point that Dre was a single mom, and it was not in her online profile, rightfully so. And we're sitting on our first date, and she's telling me about how she got pregnant. And I'm looking at her saying, well, there's no way she's a mom. I mean, look at this body in front of me. Like, there's no way that a baby was grown in there. So I'm kind of waiting for the conclusion of this story. And then she says, and I had the baby, and I have a 1.5-year old son. And I was shocked, but at the same time, receiving that information, it didn't dissuade me in any way. I was immediately like, wow, like there's more to this woman, and I was really blown away.
Had you wanted to be a dad? Like
100% wanted to be a dad, but had never even considered dating a single mom. It wasn't on my radar. Hadn't not that I was like, no way, never, but I hadn't even thought about it. It was not something I'd really considered at all. So receiving this information, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, and she told me more about him, and her, it's the best way to say it. I learned that all these deeper levels of you in that very first meeting, in that first date, and it made me more infatuated with you. It made me have a deeper respect for you.
I was so blown away in that moment, and this is where he entered like his player game of we're sitting across from each other.
Oh, tell me about it.
And we're sitting across from each other having this conversation. And I came in and broke the ice expressing all of this information. And when I expressed that, there was like a part of me that was like, if he runs, he runs. But this is my truth. I told him all of this, and he gets up, takes his chair, and pulls his chair around to my side of the table, comes and sits right next to me, and like...
Well, I moved from being across from you to being
right next to you.
Honestly,
corner to you.
If it's not a same side kind of love, I don't want it.
Yeah.
He came and sat right next to me, like holds my hand, and he's just, it's almost like in that moment, that was the moment he fell in love and was just like, saw me as far more than this pretty girl and saw me as human. And I was so taken back. I'm like, what is he doing? Like, what's happening right now?
He's not running. He's getting closer.
Should I be afraid? Mind you, I want to add something before we continue to talk about this. My mom knew about this first date that I'm going on. She also knew that Matthew was someone I met online, and that he was this white guy that I was going on a date with. So,
and was she supportive of that?
She was very supportive of that. But she was so very much afraid of the idea of me getting like Jeffrey Dahmer out here on this date, and she's not in Arizona to save me. Mm-hmm. So before that happened, she's blowing my phone up, and I ignored her call the first time. Like, that was very wrong of me because she went into a panic. She must have called me 40 times. And Matthew goes, "Is that your mom?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "You should answer the phone." I answer the phone. My mom's going ballistic on me. "How dare you not answer the phone? What are you thinking right now?" She's like freaking out. She's really worried about me. Yeah. And she'll bring that up every time we talk about our first date. "I can't believe you did that to me." Like, she'll get so upset about it. But it was so interesting in that moment where I've realized, even me dating for the first time outside of my race, how that made my mother so fearful. And I think that was the only like concern that she had, but also me going on a date with someone in general that she had no idea who it was.
And she's nowhere near.
Yeah. And this is an online date, right? Something that, and I think all women need to be cautious of online dating and ensure that you really get to know someone before you go on that first date with him. So I definitely want to say that. But going back to the story and him getting closer to me, it was in that moment that I just felt like, oh my gosh, he's not running away. He's running closer. This is wild.
This is for real.
You know, like, this is so for real. And then we dove into the realness of who we are. And it was just magic, I feel. Like,
yeah,
it was wild.
I want to add to what you were saying before. So, fellas, another pro tip here. If you meet a woman online and she has gone far enough through this process that she's actually willing to show up in person and meet you somewhere, like, understand the huge risk that she is undertaking, and just what the comfort level that would be required for any woman to get to that stage, to show up somewhere and meet a stranger, to go and have an intimate moment with that person and, you know, try to get to know someone. I mean, that's a huge step. So recognize that.
And I love that you took that also as a call to make sure that you're creating a safe space.
Yeah.
And really intentional about that safety.
Mm-hmm. As Dre's phone is blowing up through our date, I said to her, you know, whoever that is, please reassure them that you're not dead in a ditch somewhere.
You did.
You know, like mm-hmm. Let them know that you're doing all right, because I understand what it takes for you to show up here and be present with me. I mean, that's Yeah.
I mean, I had been on Bumble for maybe 3 months.
And this was
And
your first
not-
date. So
this
you
was
were on
my
Bumble
first
for
date.
3 months
I was
and
on-
not on an individual actual
Yes.
date.
I was having conversations, but Mel, I was so intentional. I mean, the amount of dick pics that I was getting was
Gross.
disgusting.
Ugh.
And then the amount
Honestly, when is that ever?
it needs to die out.
Who started that? Like who and why?
The problem is, the problem is,
Hold on.
I need that. So
He's like,
this
me,
is
please.
Not dick pic related. But, and this can get cut if it needs to get cut. But one of my favorite, and I find truth in this, but there's a David Cross bit where he's talking about the garbage men that just catcall women and all that, and he's like, you know what? It's a game of percentages, because for the garbage men that just holler at women, if you do it enough, eventually you're gonna find that woman that wants to get fucked on a pile of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No.
it might take a really long time. So you know what? The guys that just shoot out dick pics all day long, maybe every once in a while it works.
No,
but
it
you know what?
does,
It wasn't going to work in this situation.
It's not going to work in this situation, because there are times where men do that and it obviously does work, and women are drawn to that, and women don't really, you know, want that relationship. They want that one night stand. And so that's,
Or not that they want it, but that's like, oh, well, I guess this is all that this is all that I'm being given. I'll accept this like lowest effort possible.
and that goes back to self-worth, and that goes back to understanding our value as women, because I feel to the depths of our soul that most women aren't wanting that. Most women are wanting that love and that connection, but society today it's very hard to find that connection. So yeah, let's get online and have this one night stand. So again, the amount of ridiculous messages that I was getting. I also was very intentional about ensuring that I didn't respond to WID or what's up or just the bare minimum types of messages. I wanted to ensure that I wasn't allowing any of that energy in, because if you can't write a full sentence, you're not worthy of my time. If you can't express to me and have real conversation, you're not worthy of my time. Yeah. So I was on Bumble for a little bit of time before I said, or I found the person that I felt was worthy of my time, and ultimately became my husband. Yeah.
Another pro tip, fellas, don't lead with the dick pic. It's not the move.
Don't lead with
not the move.
No matter how great it is,
And women expect
it's not
more.
great.
Expect
more.
And I think
Demand more.
Demand more. But again,
And ladies, we also do need to demand more.
we do.
I do feel like there's such a normalization about just what boys are like or what guys do.
Yes.
And
Boys being
just like
boys.
this
Yes.
acceptance, it's like, no. As women, this is the biggest part of my women's empowerment work is like, if we can create more self-value and create a better understanding of who we are and what we want, then how we show up in the world is different, and the relationships that we attract are elevated, the dynamics that we engage in, that we, voluntarily, commit and connect to are elevated. And to me, that is the way that we change the world. I mean, Dre, you and I've talked several times about we're here to change the world.
We're here to change the world.
But really one woman at a time, where we demand more, we ask for more, we show up as more, like as more truer versions of ourselves. And then to me, the men do respond
to that.
There's nothing sexier than a confident woman. No doubt. Nothing sexier.
Yeah. And one of the things too for me growing up that I saw as such normalized behavior that we as women, specifically we as Black women, I feel like tolerate more than anything is what we allow men to refer us to, like that's my bitch, or, referring to women as hoes or dogs, or like this normalized way of thinking, so much so that we refer to it as, refer to the same way to each other. That's my bitch, that's my hoe, that's my this. I'm like, no, I don't ever want to be called that. No man should ever call me that. I'm not your bitch.
Right.
I am your woman. You will respect me as such. And then when you start to step into that kind of power, again, you might get perceived as self-righteous, But there's levels to the game of respect, and a man who should worship you as the woman that you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, like the way that my husband just pours into me and listens and honors me. It's like, it's about setting the tone of that level of like respect. And
yeah, if a man can't meet you there and he's like, oh, you're being uppity, like it's not you that needs to change. He needs to step up and come up to your level.
And we so often think that we need to come down or simmer down, or we're being, you know, or that we are living to please men. I mean, it's almost like so many of us are bred to like live for men and do all of the things to satisfy that man. But no, it's about taking your power back and knowing. And I think Matthew, being a man who knew on the front end that the more that I give to this woman, the more I uplift this woman, the more that I'm gonna get back from this woman. Yeah. And he is. You'll say that, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. Keep doing that.
Yeah. I mean, these types of relationships are not. It's not quid pro quo. It's not like, well, I did this for you, now you do this for me. That's not the expectation. But if you just, like you said, you just pour into a relationship, you're going to get so much more back.
Yeah.
And how do you keep like the autonomy? You know, you two, obviously when you met, you both had your own careers, you know, you had Jonah, but you hadn't had the other kids. And so now things have changed so much over the years, right? Like you've had more children and your jobs have shifted and your careers have expanded. And, you know, I've said so much that the key to this new stage of relationship is about alignment and making sure that you're going in the same direction so that you can support each other on your journey. But so many people get lost in that stage of alignment. If you get out of alignment and you started going in different directions and you're no longer growing together, you know, that it can sabotage what was a healthy relationship. Yeah. So how do you create that dynamic where you're individually growing, but also collectively, consistently realigning with one another?
Priority, like top priority is staying connected with each other.
And what does that look like?
I mean, dates, intentionally dating, even if it's when the boys go down to bed and we're going to stay up for an hour and we're going to watch something together, or we're going to have, you know, time as soon as we can when someone's able to be present, because we don't have family here. So anytime that we have free time or a sitter, you know, we're taking advantage and we're doing something fun together. Yeah. And I think, what would you say?
I mean, one...
Do you guys really dance in the middle of the rocks, in the middle of the nature?
Yeah, definitely.
That's so cute. Yeah. And I see that, I'm like, that's cute.
That's just our vibe.
And is there music playing that we can't hear online?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, because most times I'll come in and I'll put music on. Are you singing to each other?
Because you guys were singing to each other before we turned the cameras on today, so sorry you missed that. You'll have to wait for the live show to really catch that one.
What I find so unique about us, we spend a lot of time together, but we spend a lot of time together in different capacities, in different facets. Like we are co-parenting, or we're a couple and we're out on a date. But there's a lot of different ways that we spend time together. Where we do spend a lot of time together, we don't get sick of each other. Yeah. And I can't speak for all couples on that. Like, I've never been around a human that I'm just like, wow, all I want to do is be with this person. So, but I think the intention, to be intentional about maintaining us as a couple has been so important for us.
So I'd like to talk about Jonah a little bit, because I can kind of relate. When I met my ex-husband, my daughter was 8, and my ex-husband and I moved really, really quickly. And in fact, in so many ways, it was too quick for her. And she felt a lot of pressure to connect with him quickly, and she felt really disregarded. You know, as a single mom, she and I was like, we were a tag team and we were constantly connected and we did everything together. And when I got married, it felt like a demotion to her, which I didn't realize until we were going through therapy with her, because she started acting out, and she was not a kid that acted out much. So really it was adapting to this shift where, how do I make sure that she feels valued and important and prioritized, but also I'm feeding and fueling into this new relationship and this new family. And, you know, we had just moved. And so there were lots of shifts in the relationship. Also, you know, he was a white father and having a biracial daughter, and really learning, there was a massive learning curve on that I severely underestimated. So really, when you think about when you do decide to commit and to, you know, start a family with a woman who's got a child already, that integration period with the kid is so important. And I think sometimes we overlook that, or sometimes we create sort of a superficial approach to that, right? Like, and don't go deeper, where it's really that one-on-one relationship between you and Jonah. You know, I feel like my daughter and my ex-husband are really now investing in their relationship.
That's good.
As individuals, because we're divorced, because I think I managed that relationship for so much of our marriage. So really they had a choice at the divorce. Like, do we have a relationship or do we not? And that was a really tricky period as well. And for a large part, I just had to say, like, keep me out of this dynamic, because this is really yours and your choices to make. So I'd love to hear about, like, how did Jonah take to this? How is it, you know, I don't know if you've been in a biracial relationship before. And then obviously being a white father with a black son, you know, there's so many levels and layers to how this evolved.
I would say, just to intro to, you know, obviously being a single mom and dating again, and the fear that came with that. And it was more important than anything for me to ensure that I introduced my son to the right person and to the person who was going to stay. There was never going to be multiple show-ups. There was never going to be that, because I experienced that. And so ironic that I was 8 years old when my dad came into my life, and I didn't like him. But Jonah was one when I met Matthew. So when Matthew met Jonah for the first time, again, he was, you know, a baby. And, you know, we come to the point now of where he's 7. He doesn't know a life where Matthew did not exist in it.
Wow, that's beautiful.
You know, so that's his dad, and he calls him dad, and that is his father figure, and that is the person who he knows as my dad. Now, of course,
Well, he's proud to have 2 dads.
Of course, his father, but his father is in his life, but he's so proud to have 2 dads, and we've normalized that, and it's normal for him. It's so beautiful.
But I really let Jonah dictate the pace of our relationship.
Yes.
You know, he was, I mean, less than 2 when we first met, and for a while I was Macu, and then it became Matthew, and then
I thought you were going to tell me that got like shortened into something different.
But it was, and then eventually, you know, Dad just started slipping out of his mouth, and Dad, I mean Matthew, and then we're, you know, I was just kind of letting it play out for a little bit, and then we had a very intentional conversation saying, you know, Jonah, you can call me whatever you want to call me, and if you choose to call me Dad, that'd be great.
And was that before the other ones were born?
Noah was...
I bet Noah was probably born.
Yeah, he was born.
Yeah, I would.
Because that's when it shifted for my daughter.
Yeah. Really?
Was when Maxwell was born.
Yeah. Noah was a baby, right? Like,
yeah, I think Noah was born. So there was someone else who was going to be referring to me as Dad.
Yeah.
And I think when we had that conversation, Jonah felt relieved, because he really wanted to be calling me Dad, but he wasn't sure if he was comfortable, if I was comfortable with him saying that, and is this the right thing to do? And so we both spoke with him about it and reassured him, hey, if Dad is what you want, then let's go with that. And it's been Dad ever since.
I think that's also another testament to the safe space. Yeah. I was watching a reel the other day about just, you know, the trauma happens before the actual trauma, when you realize that you cannot tell somebody how you feel.
Yeah.
So it's like knowing that the trauma that comes after that, yes, that's also a trauma, but that inability to feel safe comes first.
Yeah.
I saw that same reel, and I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about, and it floored me.
It did. It did me too.
Wow.
That was a Mel Robbins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so in tune with Jonah's emotions, and I try to make sure that I am intentionally about helping him regulate his emotions and, you know, managing and nurturing his nervous system. And I remember the moments of him just feeling this sense of uncertainty but wanting it so badly. And so to just create a safety net in his mind to say, yes, if that's what you want to do, you absolutely can. Now, mind you, it was I think one of the disconnects for him was like, okay, I have my dad, and this is like my dad too, and I want to call him dad. And what I also see in him already is that need. We talk about making and people happy, my Pisces baby, the need to please. And so I try to really enforce it in him that your feelings are important. And what it is that you want, what it is you are feeling, you have every right to express those emotions. And it's so beautiful now hearing him at 7 years old talk about how he's needing to process his emotions and how he's needing to take time and sit with them.
Isn't it amazing that once they have the language around what it is that they need? I know when I taught my 11-year-old about people pleasing, you know, he's a Cancer sign and very emotional, but you know, but also very intellectual. So it's really interesting. And so when he talks about people pleasing, now he brings it back to me like, Mom, you're not people pleasing me, are you? When I'm like, what do you want for dinner? And then I let them decide, did you want something don't people please me, Mom. And it's great when they're really integrating it and keeping you accountable to your own ideologies too.
It's so beautiful. And so just watching him grow from that 1-year-old boy who built this strong connection with my husband has been so incredibly beautiful. And like I said, there is no life without him in it that he knows.
And there's something so powerful, like the way that you love a mother, right? Like that's the most powerful love you can give, is the way you love your children's mother.
It is the best example.
Either whether you are whether you are in a relationship or not with that individual, the way that you love your children's mother matters so deeply.
I think it's the most important. I think I would say that it's the most important is how they see their dad loving me and uplifting me and pouring into me. Like even when he's cooking dinner and he's like, I'm serving Mommy first. And, you know, there'll be moments where Jonah's like.
Mommy definitely gets to eat first right now.
There'll be moments where Jonah's like needing to understand. And he's like, oh. Okay. And so he'll come in, Mommy, do you need anything? Mommy, can I bring you your food? And it's so sweet.
Yeah.
You know, and then
Such a sweet boy.
And I just think about the me before him and what I was accepting and what I was tolerating and what he could have bared witness to if I allowed that. And so I knew going into my relationship that it was more important to ensure that I was creating the right type of foundation and the person that I would bring around my child and the person that I would choose to love. And
that's so beautiful. I think all the time as a single mother, you know, how do I teach my son, but my kids both collectively, how to have that, like how to connect with that sentiment. You know, even if I'm making dinner and then I'm bringing it to the table, and then if I get to the table and it's gone and now I'm eating by myself, it's like really breaking it down. Hey guys, like, can you wait until I sit down at the table with you? Mm-hmm. You know, and there's a lot of moments where I have to be really intentional about how I'm raising them, even if they're not getting that same type of modeling from their father. But it's really me setting new boundaries, and not boundaries, but new expectations and new codes of conduct on consideration and empathy and compassion. That no, in this home, we serve one another. And in this home, we consider one another when we're choosing what we're going to have to eat or where we're going to sit or how quickly we eat or who cleans. You know, it's that stuff that's like, these are core habits that we're building so that we don't have to undo. I mean, they'll have to undo different things, I'm sure.
Yeah. And first of all, you're doing an incredible job. You're an incredible mother. In my moment of like single motherhood with Jonah, it was just me and him. And I constantly questioned what our future was going to be like and if it was just going to be us being best friends. But mama's boy strong. It was just him and I. Oh, and gosh. It was so, I was scared. I was afraid. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about how it was when it was just my mom and I. We were, my mother was my mother, but also she was all I knew for some time until another person walked into her life. But for a while, it was just Jonah and I. And I questioned constantly, can I give him everything? Could I give him everything from a male perspective and from a female perspective as his mother? And, his dad and I during that time were not we're not fully connected. I mean, we were cordial, but it was me and Jonah, you know what I mean? And so that was something that I felt very bad about, especially being the person who chose to walk away from that relationship. There were moments where I questioned if I did the wrong thing.
Oh, totally.
There were moments if I questioned if I should retry for his sake. I had just these moments because it was rooted out of fear of not knowing.
Sure.
But I knew that the only path was forward and it was okay. And a lot of times we as single mothers choose to not even get into another relationship. This idea of getting into another relationship with the wrong person or getting into another relationship and then having kids again. You don't want to be that single mother who has 2 baby fathers or whatever that looks like.
Guilty.
You don't want to be that. But there were a lot of just barriers.
And let's think about that too. Like, why don't we want to be that? I mean, there's probably a lot of reasons
Social
why we don't want to be
norms,
that.
I think, is the number one thing.
But that judgment too, that okay, I had a child at 17 and turns out the partner I chose at 17 doesn't fit in my life anymore.
Yeah.
Turns out the partner I chose at 27 doesn't fit in my life at 40. Sometimes, again, it's that evolution, and how do you grow together? But just understanding what is judgment and that discernment, what is judgment and what is really right for you.
Well, like we talked about as well, is how it's normalized to blame the single mother. I mean, there are men out here with about 8 different baby mothers, and it's still, at the end of the day, the single mother is to blame for everything that doesn't work out. So that's a normalized self-inflicting trauma that we not only get from a broken society, but we project it and we self-sabotage with that, and we don't think that we can have more, or we don't think that we're deserving of more, so we settle or we just remain single mothers because we're fearful of that judgment or fearful of being hurt again, and that was just a fear that I had to work so hard to push past. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm so glad that I did, so glad that I did. And Jonah, I mean, he's blossoming so beautifully. And the way in which Matthew shows up for him, I mean, they're best friends. It's so absolutely.
It sure looks, I mean, it's so beautiful.
He is my best friend. He's definitely my best friend. I mean, from day one, Jonah was the bonus in my life. And my relationship with him is so special. Yeah. I value it so much. Mm-hmm. Just with how he's let me into his life. I genuinely am so appreciative of him. Yeah. He's such an amazing kid. And I just adore him.
And now all the babies. You know what, some of my favorite videos that you post or that you've sent me is where you guys are in the living room dancing or being cute, and then you can hear the screaming in the background. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because there is that peace and chaos moment, and I can relate to that on so many levels and layers. Having the babies little, I had a newborn, a toddler, and a teenager at the same time. Mm-hmm. And my world was chaos, but it was, we still found ways to date one another and to be present in those moments. And, those are some core memories.
Yeah. I think what excites me is that from the moment we met, it was love. And everything that we have done has been rooted in love. Every human that we have created has been rooted in love. And I feel like we have began this foundation of just pure magic. And even in these moments of chaos, we know that it's temporary. We know that it's temporary because in a few years, it's going to be just us again. So we are so intentional about ensuring that we never lose sight of us.
Yeah.
Because when they're gone and in college or whatever they choose to do, it's going to be just us again.
Yeah, you have to embrace the chaos to a degree.
Yeah.
And just know that it's temporal. It's not always going to be there.
Yeah. And and also we love it. We are one adventurous family.
You really are. and honestly, I feel that because I am too. Yeah. You know, there are days that I take the kids out for coffee and hot chocolate and we come back like at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or maybe we come back in a couple of days because we decided to stay up in Sedona or, you know, go do whatever. And that's really important to me, and to really show the kids that we can, you know, adventure. And that was a massive shift for me going into my singledom too, is, you know, in the morning, I used to have to keep the house really quiet. I like loud music in the morning.
Yeah.
So now it's like when I get up, I turn on the music. The kids wake up to a party because that's when I'm the most energetic.
Yeah.
And so that's now what they experience. And we scooter to school and really kind of bringing them into my world that, like, you know, single Mel doesn't have to be a different mom.
Yes.
You know, I can be the same woman with my children than I am without my children.
Yeah.
And that, like, integration has been really liberating.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for a long time I sort of had characters of me.
It's a great point. It's a
You
great
know,
point. Yeah.
and it was like the character that I was at work, and the character that I was in my relationship, and the character I was with my children, and the character I was when I was out on my own. And really the moment that all that came to head was actually when I got diagnosed with cancer. And it was like, you are such a fraud. I felt all of these people at my funeral would be so fragmented, and they would all know a different part of me. And what bullshit.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, I was visualizing my funeral constantly for weeks right after my diagnosis. I couldn't get it out of my head, and I was curating it so intentionally. And the thing that I couldn't get out of my head was that some of the best stories that I ever lived wouldn't be told because so many people didn't know that Mel.
Wow.
Ooh.
And I thought that was when it all shifted for me, that I'm not doing that anymore. I'm pulling back the veil, and I became way more unapologetic. And as a result, all of my relationships suffered, except for the relationship I had with my children.
Yeah.
Because my children got to see all of me.
Yep.
They see me working, they see me hustling, they see me resting, they see me crying, they see me happy, they see me sad. Like, they see all of me. And they have really created a space where that is okay.
Yeah.
And that's so beautiful. And I tell them that all the time. Like, I bring them into the studio and I bring them into my life, and my son wants to help me with marketing, and my daughter wants to literally run my business. So it's so powerful that when we do remove the veils and the expectations and the obligations and the ways that we pressure ourselves to have many hats. No, wear one hat and make it your fucking hat. And that hat is also a mother, and that hat is also a wife. Maybe that wife, that, you know, it can be all of you.
Yeah.
And that is, I implore more women to liberate themselves.
Yeah.
You know, especially right now while everybody is really focusing on their personal brand. Remove the pressure of your personal brand and let it just be you.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, when it comes to your children, no matter what veil you're wearing out there in front of the world or in front of other people, they're going to see who you are. They're going to know who you are, maybe to an extent more than you know who you are. So to get
or
to a
at least
place
they'll
of
know who you're
being-
not.
Yeah. To get to a place of being authentically who you are in a space of having children and having a family and having a partner, there's nothing more liberating than stepping into that authenticity. Because in every way that I show up to my boys, it's exactly who I am. It's exactly who I am on my good days, on my not so great days. They see. And my oldest, he's so in tune completely.
And it gives them the opportunity to show up with empathy.
Yes.
And really, like, how do you teach your children to have compassion? You maybe don't protect them from everything where they don't have the capacity to show up in that way. I mean, it's a muscle, right? And so as we navigate through it, it's like, we've got to talk about it. Let's explore it.
Yeah.
We can't tell our children that they can be vulnerable if we're not being vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean, and they feel everything in here, from in here. The minute they are seeds within us growing, they're feeling everything that we're feeling.
It's so true that you say that. And I think of how often we talk about how we feel this pregnancy. I mean, so many of us that have had multiple children, it's like you can tell characteristics of that child from the moment you felt you were pregnant. And those character traits are still alive and well, down to like the cravings, you know? My daughter, I craved apple juice constantly when I was pregnant with Malia. She still loves apple juice. You know, Maxwell, I called him the manimal the second I was pregnant with him because I was eating like crazy. It was like I couldn't get full. And with Vivi, I was craving rosé and sweets. And she is literally the kid that will... the amount of candy that kid can consume and it not affect her at all is massive. So we talk about that, but also understanding that they feel us too.
Yeah.
So, you know, that it goes both ways. My son tells me all the time, I love you more. I love you more. And I was like, you can't possibly, because I grew you inside of me.
Yeah.
And he goes, but I knew I was inside of you before you did. Wow. You know,
So
it's
real.
beautiful.
That is so beautiful. No, I think it's all beautiful, and ensuring that you are in a space of safety and softness and building with someone, you know, even if that means that you got it wrong the first time, you still have all the ability and the power in the world to get it right the next time. If you believe that you can, if you know that you're worthy, if you know that you're valuable, then you can. And that's my message to every woman and every single mom who struggles with that idea of not feeling valued or not feeling worthy, because society teaches us to question our self-worth, right? As single mothers. And I dared to do that because I did it for so long in the wrong relationship. And I knew getting to a space of recognizing my power and recognizing what I bring to the table, that there was someone out there who would be worthy of me and love me properly and show up for me and be that soft place to land, because I never had it. Not with my father, not with any male figure in my life until I met my husband. And so I refuse to go my whole life never experiencing that. One thing that we've always talked about within dating and you getting out there into the dating scene is, because you're in a space where you are spiritually aligned and you know what you want, but now in having conversations with men who have that level of depth, to be so certain that it's real and that it's authentic. Because the biggest red flags that I see is the spiritual game being spit. Like that knowing all the right things to say. All the right things to say, because we as women, we love to hear the right things.
Honestly, that has been a massive shift for me, because I feel like most of the men that have connected with me, even online, maybe I'm not on sites, but I've dated a few people that have come through the DMs, and they're all like spiritual men. But it is true that sometimes I wonder, do you just like know how to play me better?
But you have to ensure that those actions line up with those words, because actions speak so much louder.
Amen.
So if this person is telling you all the things that you want to hear, but not calling you when he should call you, not texting you when he should text you, that's a red flag. And it's okay to admit that it's a red flag. Sometimes we often, especially today in today's society, we allow a lot because we think, the dating pool's not that great. This is the best that I can get, yada, yada, yada. No, never settle. And I say that not being in a space of never settling and meeting someone as deeply as you've not met yourself yet. That's not what I'm saying. Because there are many people who think that they can get the best of the best, but they're not doing the work that they need to do on themselves first.
For sure.
But when you know that you are doing everything and you're aligned and you're ready, it's ensuring that person that you're spending time with and investing time into is about business.
Yeah, I really do feel like communication is
Number one.
Number one for me.
It is.
And consistency.
Yep.
You know, and I used to think that I was scared of commitment. And I think just coming out of my divorce, I think I lost trust in myself and whether or not I had the capacity to commit. And once I realized that I had to commit to myself to something that I really believed in and quit self-sacrificing in order to meet other people's needs. Once I really understood that commitment in myself, it was like, oh, I do want that.
Yeah.
I just want a shared vision also. You know, somebody who's also equally invested into impacting our community and showing up in our community and standing up for what we think is right and really like being present with other people and creating spaces like that's
Yeah.
it's critical for me.
You're so worthy of that. I never stopped romanticizing. I still romanticize.
That's beautiful.
We love our life, but we want so much more.
I will never stop romanticizing, and I fully believe in speaking life into the things that you wish to see breathe.
Amen. We did that the day we started this. It was like, let's speak life into this. What do we really want to do?
Yes.
And how can we support our communities, like, and the world as we grow and evolve and expand?
Yeah.
My advice would be to spend some time with yourself and really know what your needs are. Really know what it is that you're looking for in a partner, in a relationship. And then when presented with an opportunity and you're meeting someone new, don't be afraid to vocalize what those needs are. Say that, you know, the person that I'm seeking is going to show up for me in this way. These are my love languages, or these are the things that are missing in my life that I would be seeking in a partner. Don't be afraid to share those things. And sometimes it takes a long time to figure out what your needs are.
Sure.
So yeah, I would say that's my number one piece of advice, is just really put it out there for people. You know, no one can read minds, and you know, it's always sad when a relationship comes to an end and all that was needed to be done was, well, you know, this is where I was missing things. This is what I wasn't getting. Oh, you never told me that. You know,
Amen.
that's so sad.
It's so sad. It's so true too. I do think so often. I mean, I've backward mapped so many, you know, so much of my past relationship, of my marriage, and you know, where is it that things shifted for me? You know, if I was obsessed with this person when I met, and then somehow, somewhere, where did it lose focus? Where did it lose connection? And when I realized, you know, that what I really need is a man who stands in his integrity, in his community, and can stand up and out and speak his truth really openly. I've learned the power of respect.
Yeah.
You know, that if you lose respect for somebody, you have the ability to really sabotage a relationship. And if you don't have the ability to communicate where you need and where you're being disconnected, that to me was really eye-opening. You know, so that as I move forward, it's like, it's really that if communication is what I want the most of, how do I need to show up that way and be more communicative?
Yeah.
To thine own self be true. I mean, that's first. You got to recognize what your needs are. And then once you find that your needs are being met, I mean, the ultimate goal in a relationship is to be able to put someone else's needs above your own. So when your needs are being met, then you can get outside of yourself and make sure that, you know, the person that you're with, that their needs are also being met. And I mean, that's how a successful relationship works.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So for sure. And I get the same question quite a bit when it comes to dating, and also specifically dating outside of my race. And I found it to be an interesting question, one that I never fully considered when I was dating, but I knew that just being open no matter what, and being able to step outside of this normalized way of thinking and opening up to whoever has the ability to love me properly. Like, I have literally gotten questions like, what did you do, or how did it make you feel to finally find someone, or this ability to step outside and date someone, you know, not within your race? I'm like, the capacity to think that small and not open up your mind because of what society has told you is acceptable, or who you should love, or how you should love, it limits so much ability to love freely, even if you are loving the same person who looks just like you. But it's a closed mind that you never get to expand because you just are focused on this one way of thinking because that's what society has told you to focus on. And it's so simple as opening up your mind and opening up your heart to being willing and ready to receive being loved properly, no matter who it is or what they look like. That fear that sits there in people's mind, and women that I speak to specifically, what are you afraid of? Judgment from who? At the end of the day, it's about you and the other person. Amen. It's not about what your parents think. It's not about what your friends think. At the end of the day, if you are being loved properly, that is all that matters.
Wow.
And it's like, it's sad because there are people who grow up in families who are told not to date outside of their race or not to date a certain person based on religion.
I would say most.
Most, sure. Yeah.
If whether it's spoken or unspoken.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my dad didn't come to my wedding. That's another conversation. But just that small-minded way of thinking that limits us from potentially, because I married outside of my race. But at the end of the day, I married a man who loves me and shows up for me properly. And the fact that he didn't accept that man, but was more of accepting of the man who abused me, it kind of shows that abuser to abuser relationship and mentality.
Yeah.
So regardless.
And the value of women,
me as your daughter, you know? So what I would just say to women out there who are fearful of dating outside of their race, it's to silence that fear, which is typically just other people's opinions, and go where you are loved, period. So
follow what you're attracted to.
Yeah.
But also, don't limit.
I love that you said to me about the spending time with yourself and knowing what your needs are. Because I feel like in that first few months after my divorce, the big emphasis for me was really just dating myself. You know, taking myself, where do I want to go? At first, it was feeling like sorry for myself and lonely and really struggling through that loneliness, which I do think is a necessary chapter.
It is.
Just grieving, you know, the relationship and grieving maybe not even just the loss of the relationship, but the loss of what you had intended on achieving with that relationship. But really spending time with myself. Like if I was going to go on a date tonight, where would I go?
Yeah.
And then taking myself. I went every week to jazz at Wrigley Mansion and then just sat in the back of the room with a book or with a journal and a glass of wine. And I watched the sunset. And sometimes I would walk around the property with AirPods in, listening to music. You know, I started traveling a bunch. I was doing a lot of speaking engagements. So I was all over the place. And I started making playlists for myself as I was traveling.
Love that.
And it was so magical, just romancing myself. And I thought, what is romance? And I came down to, it's any time that you can appeal to as many senses at the same time.
Yes.
That's the reason why a walk on the beach holding hands is just as romantic as a fancy meal at the rooftop of Wrigley Mansion.
Seriously.
Right? It's what are you seeing and what are you smelling and what are you touching and how do you, it's all those sensations.
I feel that so much. I feel that so much.
Yeah. And when you start to romance yourself, you really learn what it is that you like. You know, I love to take the train and listen to French music. It reminds me of that time that I canceled my flight from London and I took a train to Paris and I spent a whole week there by myself. And I made this playlist because I met all these beautiful people and I asked them what their favorite song is. And if anybody wants that playlist, it's on my Spotify. It's called C'est Si Bon. And it's the most magical playlist. But it's those moments that I just turn that on and I ride my bike and I could be riding my bike in the middle of downtown Phoenix, listening to C'est Si Bon, and I am happy as a clam. I'm just so in my peace.
You're pedaling along the Seine River.
For real,
I
real.
love that.
And that has been really beautiful. And I even had a friend of mine who told me, I feel bad for who you date next because you date yourself so good. And I was like, I don't. Because I date myself so good. And if they're going to be part of that, it's such a beautiful, it's only better.
I felt the first time in the beginning when I began dating myself, I was nervous. I would go places alone and I'm like, oh, people think I'm lonely. But then I got to a place of absolutely loving it. And like, if they knew better, they would do better. And even all this time and all these years later in a whole relationship with 3 whole kids, I still date myself. And like I've told you
really
before,
do so beautifully.
Like I told you before, I have a soundtrack to like every season of my life. Like even our relationship, the beginning and even now. Who do you say was the soundtrack to our relationship?
Well, I mean, music is such an important facet to both of
So
our
important.
lives. And
you guys do records too, right?
we play a lot of records in the house, yeah.
Just thought I'd add that because you do paint. That paints another picture.
Yeah, I mean, we're very intentional with our music. It's not just throw shuffle on some mix on, you know, and that's how we're raising our boys, to be very intentional about what they're listening to really, I mean, it's one of the biggest
powerful
pieces of my life.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Frequency music at night, in the
100%.
morning. It's just the whole
so
thing.
good. The minute we wake up, we're listening to music. Snow Allegra was the soundtrack to our relationship
To
in
our
the
early
beginning.
relationship,
Like,
and it has continued.
and it has continued. Like we played her song at our wedding. Like
Wow.
she was the soundtrack. And every time we listen to any song of hers, we're like just romanticizing all over again. And it's just so beautiful. I mean, even back to my childhood, music was so important, right?
Yeah.
So I think that says so much when you think about those songs, and it takes you back to a place. And even moments where I've had sad songs that take me back to a place, I've recreated the narrative, or I'll go back to a place where I cried rivers at, you know, and sat on a mountaintop just crying my eyes out, and I'll go back to that place and create a different narrative.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I love
That's so
that.
healing too. And I love that. I feel like I broke so wide open over the last few years, you know, that now I've become I've really learned how to embrace that rawness, like even the ache in the heart. It's like, oh, feel it.
Feel it.
Just like let it sink you deeper. And that is so powerful, just to sit in it, not like dwell in it. We're not creating narratives around it. Just let the body process that emotion through, just like acknowledge the emotion and let it move through you.
Yeah.
And before you know it, I mean, what I've noticed now since I've fully learned that somatic process, it's that motion does move through your body faster. It's literally emotion for a reason.
Yeah.
And you let it move through you, and it like grows your soul.
It's the only way to properly heal through something is to go through it, to navigate through it, and to feel it. So
Music therapy is very real, and there's definitely, you know, when you learn enough music, music can soundtrack any emotion.
Absolutely.
any emotion.
Well, thank you for being here today. It was so beautiful
great.
just sitting across from you guys and witness your love and hear your story. And I'm sure we'll have you back on many
anytime.
times.
Yep.
Oh, for sure. We're starting our YouTube channel, so I think it's going to be super great to just get more aligned with what our everyday looks like and what we do and parenting and how we navigate through that and how we show up for each other
Behind
every
the
day.
curtain.
Exactly.
So tell the viewers kind of where they can find that.
Yes. So follow us on YouTube at That Late in Love. And tune into all the chaos, the beautiful structure that we've created and how we plan to just navigate through and this pregnancy that we're currently going through now. I'm going to just share all the things.
Well, thank you for letting us get a window seat.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll have to have Erica Badu.
I
at
know, right? Awesome.
Right.